Hey folks, Bruce here from 4Low Life again. I just wanted to go over a couple quick things with you today. Previously in a video I talked about the different colors of connectors. Wanted to clarify for you that these three colors are for the different sizes of wiring that you will likely be using. Red is for the smallest, that's for 18 to 22 gauge. Blue is in the middle, is for 14 and 16 gauge. And yellow is for 10 to 12 gauge. It's important that you don't try and fit the wrong size wire into the wrong connector, because you will either end up with a connection in the crimp that is too loose, or you'll have to trim wires off of a larger one to get them in there. When you do that, you're reducing the area of the wire, which is what is used to conduct the current. So if you take a 10 gauge wire and you trim some of the strands off to fit it into a 16 gauge connector, you've now reduced the capability of what that wire can carry current wise, and that can cause you problems farther down the line. So try and remember, if you got bigger wiring, 10 to 12 gauge, you're going to be using the yellow. 14, 16 gauge, you're going to be using the blue, and 18 to 22, you're going to be using the red. What you can do is you can go the other way around. If you've got three 18 gauge wires and you twist them together and they'll fit into a 16, that should be fine. Use your judgment on how much space you're taking up. If you are having a hard time fitting them in there, you probably need to go to a larger connector. And if you can't fit them in, don't trim them off. So there's your connector colors. Second thing I wanted to talk about really quick is fuses. Geez, I had these all perfectly stacked here. Different sizes of fuses. Okay, you've got 7.5, 5s, 10s, 15, 20, 30. If you have a problem with a circuit, it's got a 7.5 amp fuse in it, and that's the size it's supposed to be in there, and the circuit keeps blowing, please don't put a 10 in it. It's an easy way around it, but the wiring that that circuit has been designed to by the manufacturer of the car is designed to handle up to 7.5 amps. When you stick a 10 amp fuse in there, you're allowing more current to flow through that circuit than this guy who designed the circuit was intending. What happens when you put too much current through a wire? The wire can turn into a fuse and it blows. And that starts melting wires, it starts fires. Just don't do it. If there's a problem on a circuit where the fuse is blowing, find out why. If you don't know how to find out why, go back to my first video and start watching there, and I'll show you how to troubleshoot short circuits, partial shorts using test lights and voltmeters. If you have a problem with a circuit, don't just up the fuse. There's something wrong. Find out what the problem is. Now, the next thing, real quick, is a lot of people seem to have a concern of being electrocuted from working on an electrical system on your vehicle. Now, unless you have an inverter or you've got shore power hooked in, you're working with low voltage DC. Low voltage DC, for the most part, is safe to work with. You may have a high current flow, but you're not going to get that by just touching it with your hands. Let's start out with a AA battery. Okay, these are 1.5 volts, 1.2 volts, depending on the kind. I can perfectly easily touch both sides of this battery, and as you can see, I'm not getting a shock and I'm not dead. So let's go from a 1.5 volt battery to a 3 volt battery. That's a watch battery. As you can see, I'm touching both sides of the battery and I'm not getting a shock. I'm still here, I'm not dead. Let's jump that up to 9 volts, 9 volt battery, and I promise you, this has charge in it because I stuck it on my tongue and I could feel it. I can touch both sides of the 9 volt battery, and as you can see, I'm not getting shocked and I'm not dead. My skin is fairly dry, but even if it was moist and sweaty, there's not enough voltage to drive the current through my fingers in a 9 volt battery. It just won't happen. If I stuck my hand in salt water and had it completely coated and stuck it on there, I might get something, just like when you stick it on your tongue that has salt water on it. That salt water is conductive. It's more conductive than the rest of you. Now, you are made mostly of salt water, so if you get the voltage high enough, you can have it flow through you. So we've done 1.5 volts, we've done 3 volts, we've done 9 volts. What about 12 volts? Well, here's a fully charged 12 volt battery from a car. I'm going to touch both terminals. No, I'm just kidding. Both terminals with the same hand, and as you can see, I'm still alive. Why am I not getting shocked? Same thing. There's not enough voltage in this battery to push the current through my body. If I take a wire, there is zero resistance, hopefully, or very close to it, in this section of wire. If I put the wire across the terminals, there is nothing stopping the current from flowing. You notice I have a fuse in here. Now, when I touch this across the two terminals, you're going to see a spark. That spark is not going to kill me. The current flow is going to pop that fuse because it's going to try and do more than 5 amps. So, there we go. Now, that wire is now dead. It's opened the circuit. A little hard to see, but that fuse is now blown. You can see a little black spot there. It's popped a little wire inside there. Okay? 5 amp fuse. The wire didn't melt. I didn't get killed. I can touch the battery. If I continue to up that fuse, and I say I put a 30 amp fuse in there because the 5 amp blew, eventually what's going to happen when I get the fuse up high enough is it's going to be more than this wire can handle, and it's going to start to melt. So there's a little bit of information about colors of crimps, fuses, and why we use them, why you don't get electrocuted. Now, to go on beyond that, I can go to a 24 volt battery. I'm likely not going to feel anything. If you're very sweaty and you touch both sides, you may get a tingle at 24 volts. 48 volts, you're starting to get into the place where you will feel it. And because of the amount of current that can flow out of these batteries, it does get dangerous. When you get the voltage high enough, you're in an area where there's enough potential to push the current through the resistance of your body. That's when things get dangerous. So if you're playing with 12 volt batteries, most of the time you're going to be fine. Don't stick a wrench across the terminals. Don't touch positive with your ring and touch the negative side of the body. As you can see, I have a rubber ring, silicone. But as long as you're playing it smart and not touching positive straight to negative, you're going to be fine. Worst thing that's going to happen, you should pop a fuse somewhere. Don't touch your tools across the terminals, but don't be scared of it. I hope that's helped some understanding of what different colors mean, why we have different size fuses, and why you can touch both sides of the battery without getting shocked. Have a good one. Stay safe. If you're working on stuff, watch videos to learn before you do it so you don't end up hurting yourself or blowing your tools apart or damaging your vehicle. Stay tuned for more videos. There's always more to come. Thanks.